trying my temper.
And I don't like it.
Comedy violation. Flag on the joke.
Oh, come on, that was a good one. See, he said trying my temper and acted like I tried it and didn't like... Never mind.
Captain Forrest here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man and explaining to you folks why Spider-Man is stronger than you actually think. Of course, as the title implies, I'm going to be going over some feats for Spider-Man. I'm going to be going into a lot of context behind Spider-Man and some of his higher AP feats and just going over certain things that a lot of people miss. Today, I'm going to declare that Spider-Man inherently is not a street tier. A mistake that a lot of new and old readers make with Spider-Man comes from not understanding the context behind Spider-Man's raw attack potency and the fact that he holds back a lot in his fights. This is also addressed when Doc Ock, aka Superior Spider-Man, who is in control of Spider-Man's body, he was literally able to one-shot Scorpion and launch his jaw off. Doc Ock is amazed behind the level of power behind his attacks and understands why Peter Parker suppresses himself a lot in combat. This is also reinforced as we see Superior Spider-Man being able to rock Namor with a punch. I will go into more detail about some of the hero tier feats for Spider-Man later, but I'm going to focus on the main things and the main points in this video. Now, the level of power from Spider-Man comes from his willpower. The more motivated Spider-Man is in combat, just more of an incentive to make him draw out more power and muster out more AP in combat is triggered in many ways, via his determination to protect those he cares about, simply being pissed off or pretty much excited in combat, being enraged or bloodlusted, or pretty much out of sheer desperation, or just a strong resolve and a strong incentive to fight back with, you know, a lot of velocity. And on top of that, with great power comes great responsibility, which is a code Spider-Man follows, which is why you don't see Spider-Man putting all his ops in a body bag. There is a guidebook statement that talks a little bit about Spider-Man's mysterious powers and where he gets it from. They talk about Spider-Man drawing powers from beings that reside inside a 5D structure. So you could make the argument that Spider-Man is drawing some type of power from higher entities, which would also reinforce why Spider-Man is so strong. Due to Spider-Man holding back a lot, most of Spider-Man's suppressed feats are pretty much ranging from the street tier ranges, you know, the city block, the multi-city block, the town level feats, the city level feats, mountain level, and there's even some island level stuff for, you know, suppressed Spider-Man, etc. Another thing to note is that Spider-Man, out of other street tiers, not only has better raw attack potency, but also speed as well. Even characters like She-Hulk, who can react to Hulk and punch him straight in his face, a dude who has some direct chain scaling, being able to react to Thor and Silver Surfer and other hero tiers who've also demonstrated MFTL feats at the low end. These characters can easily travel like, you know, billion, quadrillion light years, crazy light speed feats. You got Thor, who can literally travel across an infinite distance within a finite amount of time just by hearing a prayer. So characters casually having infinite bloody travel speed and reaction speed, and you've got characters with immeasurable speed such as Silver Surfer being able to, you know, time travel. Thor can do it himself, he can also time travel too, and there's some really impressive speed stuff. And you have characters that can do all of this, characters who can react to each other very easily, and literally She-Hulk herself can fight some of these characters, and she even has a lot of difficulty being able to even touch Spider-Man, and she even notes herself when she even sees Spider-Man moving at quick speeds that she forgets how fast and agile he moves. Another thing I want to mention as well for Spider-Man, it's more of a mental thing when it comes to suppressing himself. He does it unconsciously, he holds back a lot, especially in his fights when facing opponents, as he treats them as normal civilians. But once he gauges his opponents and his spider sense kicks in, Spider-Man knows to pretty much take the enemy out really quickly. He knows to take the fight seriously. Heck, in recent Spider-Man comics, Spider-Man has been holding back for so long, he doesn't even realize he's doing it anymore. Spider-Man basically has Superman syndrome. Now, when it comes to other street tiers, or trying to use other street tiers to scale to Spider-Man, again, you have to be very careful because a lot of street tiers do not scale to Spider-Man's like true feats. There's only like a, you know, you can make some arguments for some of them scaling to more of his higher suppressed feats. Some do well, like Kraven, for example. You can even argue stuff for Black Panther, just his suit as well. His suit has like some really good durability stuff, and he's already shown hero tier feats, so you can definitely argue it being that tier. But a lot of stuff like, you know, Black Widow, Punisher, Captain America, Cyclops, you know, Hawkeye, Bullseye, Daredevil, Deadpool, they would certainly not scale to any of Spider-Man's true feats, his true non-suppressed feats. Now the best route, as mentioned, the best route to go for trying to scale some of these characters to Spider-Man is to go with his suppressed feats. Already used like his finite stuff. I've already used it on my channel several times. That's why there's certain characters and certain feats that I scale like suppressed Spider-Man 2. So there's some town level feats, there's some city level feats for him. I have upgraded some of my Marvel scaling for some of the street tiers. So those are some examples that I wanted to mention. Spider-Man is so fast that he even embarrasses the X-Men themselves on 2 occasions. Cyclops even admits that Spider-Man is stronger than all of the X-Men, and this was referring back to his old team, the original X-Men. I'm talking about the Uncanny X-Men back in 1967. Spider-Man himself has literally blitzed characters like Daredevil, who even admits that Spider-Man is faster and stronger than him. And this is impressive because obviously Daredevil himself has some really good senses due to his radar, and literally despite him having really good senses and due to his, like, you know, his radar, that's not enough. Spider-Man literally still blitzes him. Like, it's irrelevant. Spider-Man has shown many times to pretty much one-shot his rogue gallery. He's literally one-shotted Electro. You know, he's beaten up Green Goblin. He's also beaten up Superior Spider-Man, actually. Yeah, that's a surprise, folks. We've even seen Spider-Man beat up this very same Superior Spider-Man, who is literally able to hurt Namor. And Superior Spider-Man also has some more feats as well. Superior Spider-Man can also react to a suppressed Thor and Hulk. Thor himself is taken back by Peter Parker's strength. Thor even states that Peter Parker's strength is impressive for a mortal. So if you got characters like Thor, God of Thunder, giving you statements like that, backing your strength up, then hey, that's some good street cred. So the excitement of being in battle can cause Peter's strength levels to skyrocket into uncharted territories, allowing him to flatten even cosmic powered aliens. And this is a direct statement from one of the guidebooks, so this further, you know, adds more consistency and context towards Spider-Man's strength. Now, a determined Spider-Man is able to easily beat up and beat the brakes of Carnage, and he's also beaten up Venom too as well. Spider-Man has shown to literally one-shot Punisher casually, and he's also pressed Wolverine physically in combat. I figured I'd add these just to make it clear that none of these characters scale to, you know, a true Spider-Man when he stops suppressing himself. Now, I'm pretty sure you folks pretty much get the message at that point that Spider-Man is easily above a lot of street tiers. He's pretty much S tier if he was to do a tier list. So I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about his higher feats. We've seen an unhappy Spider-Man punch She-Hulk and send her flying. Spider-Man was literally able to fight Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, during her run. I think this was back in 2006. He was able to punch her in the mouth and make her bleed, bro. Like, that's crazy. He casually reacts to her attacks and her attempts to try and blitz him, and Spider-Man's able to literally react to it very easily and whip her up. And Carol even loses track of Spider-Man and calls Spider-Man a sneaky fast little twerp. That's how fast Spider-Man is, bro. And this is impressive because Captain Marvel herself, even back when she was Miss Marvel, she has some pretty decent feats as well. I was trying to find a star level statement. There was a star level statement for her as well, like as a low end, but she's easily punching characters and sending them flying into next week, such as Wonder Man, who was also under some mind control. So that's pretty impressive. We've seen willpower amped Spider-Man being able to beat the brakes out of Angry a Thing. I've talked about the Thing's feats as well. Thing is literally able to punch Gladiator into next week. He's able to grapple with Grey Hulk. He's able to fight other powerful hero tier characters, just very powerful, you know, characters in their own right. And Spider-Man's literally able to punch those rocks. He's literally punching his scales off him. It's also been shown that Spider-Man was able to completely beat up and tear apart Iron Man's suit. Even Iron Man was surprised behind Peter Parker's strength. He even notes that he had no idea that Spider-Man was this strong. And Spider-Man pretty much gestures and he's like, oh yeah, me neither. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and move on, talk about a character named Morlun. Morlun is a very powerful bastard in his own right, and he himself is one of Spider-Man's toughest rivals. Morlun himself has shown some feats and statements himself, such as the time Morlun pulled up to Wakanda and caused quite a storm. It was even stated that they were throwing all types of weaponry at Morlun, such as mortars, bombs, laser cannons, vibranium core nuclear tip shells, etc, etc. They were completely ineffective. They had no effect on Morlun. In a 2022 Marvel guidebook, when Spider-Man gets hit by Morlun, it's stated that Morlun hits harder than ever before. Morlun's attacks are even compared to Hulk and Thor's, which is pretty interesting. Me personally, it just depends on what versions of Hulk and Thor you use and who you apply apply the statements, it would be safer to use earlier versions of Thor and Hulk, because there's a lot of context and you gotta be careful when you use like Thor and Hulk in certain situations, because obviously just given the fact that they themselves hold back a lot, they are suppressed, it does come down to, you know, a lot of context. You have to do a little bit more work. It just wouldn't be safe to just go off the rails and just say, okay, it's current Thor and crazy stuff. It just hurt the validity of the statement. Anyway, Morlun himself easily scales to his brother Deimos, who is able to body slam and embarrass the New Warriors, which includes the likes of Black Nova. Black Nova himself has some feats of him charging up a cosmic cube and also one-shotting Hercules and hurting Captain Marvel after charging into her. Morlun and Deimos beat up Kane in his The Other form, which killed Peak Solace after he killed Cosmic Spider-Man, and while weakened can fight against Enigma Force amped Miles. When Sin Eater absorbed Morlun's powers, he was able to completely batter the entire Spider family, with Spider-Gwen stating that Morlun was near impossible to beat on his worst day. And with all these feats mentioned to you folks, this very same Morlun gets completely rocked by a non-suppressed Spider-Man. Very impressive. Spider-Man himself is able to incapacitate the Absorbing Man after landing multiple strikes on him. Titania, one of She-Hulk's enemies, they've both gone at it back and forth many years, even back in classic and even current comics. She's even afraid of Spider-Man and his power, and that's some crazy statements, because She-Hulk herself is a monster and Titania has like literally no fear when it comes to fighting She-Hulk, but when it comes to Spider-Man, she's ready to, you know, she's ready to run off the block, which is crazy. Spider-Man with his sheer strength alone was able to hold back a Juggernaut absorbed Sin Eater with willpower. Spider-Man is able to literally react and avoid attacks from Gladiator up close, literally avoiding his heat vision, avoiding, you know, up close strikes. And this is crazy. I'm telling you, Spider-Man, he's quick, he's fast. People really do underplay his speed. He has really good like laser reaction feats, and he has like the best, you know, feats in terms of like street tier stuff. He has the best, you know, FTL scaling, and you can even argue him to have some higher scaling even to the MFTL, even if you don't agree with like things like infinite speed or immeasurable for Spider-Man. He easily has some really solid finite, you know, higher reaction speeds, which I definitely think he can reach to, because again, he's fighting characters who can literally travel across galaxies within mere moments, travel across the universe, some crazy scaling. So Spider-Man himself is able to beat up the very personification of the Egyptian gods Horus and Osiris. And lastly, Spider-Man himself punches Speedball, and the narrator notes that Speedball's power is no match for Spider-Man's, and this very same Speedball and his powers are derived from another dimension. So overall, even if you downgrade Spider-Man's raw attack potency, you can easily scale a non-suppressed Spider-Man and his willpower feats to finite levels. You have some statements, some lower end feats for characters that they can literally destroy planets, they can blow up stars, they can destroy solar systems, they can destroy asteroids, they can destroy galaxies, multi-galaxy, etc, etc. He would definitely scale to those ranges if you use like just finite scaling. But if you want to take Spider-Man to the next level, he can be argued to reach the Universal Plus, Low Multiversal Plus, Multiversal Plus, High Hyperversal Plus. You can even argue Altiversal Plus, High Altiversal Plus, some boundless stuff, and even some extraversal stuff on that too. Me personally, I like to stick with consistency, so I think Spider-Man, when he's not holding back, he can easily reach like finite scaling of planet, star, solar system, galaxy level. And if you even want to go there, you can even possibly argue this for Spider-Man 2, which is also fine. You know, if you want to stick with consistency, you can easily get him to Uni Plus when he's not holding back, Low Multiversal Plus, and heck, with the type of characters that Spider-Man is pretty much beating up, and the individual feats and statements of those characters, and the feats themselves that they've shown, I wouldn't be against the Altiversal ranges, or potentially even High Altiversal for Spider-Man. Of course, the ranges are 100% optional, and I wanted to give different ranges and routes you can certainly take with Spider-Man when he's not suppressed. Now, it does depend on how much he holds back in some of this fight, so his AP can fluctuate, but regardless, those are some good ranges. As for speed, Spider-Man, me personally, you know, the proof's in the pudding. I think Spider-Man can respectively reach the tiers of, you know, FTL plus, MFTL plus, and this could be argued for him. You can even argue him having some infinite speed, maybe even some immeasurable speed, but of course, that is completely up to you, completely optional. Now, before I end this video, I know folks, you could definitely bring up things that may conflict or go against certain aspects of his scaling, and you wouldn't necessarily be wrong. Consistency is key when it comes to scaling, but I wanted to dive deeper and show you all higher potential scaling for Spider-Man. Now the higher arguments for Spider-Man in my opinion require a lot more arguments and work, and in all honesty they do have some contentions behind it, but as mentioned before, those arguments do exist and it's down to your interpretation. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to really chime in on Spider-Man and, you know, show some love to this, you know, to the web slinger himself. But yes, it's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.